This is a 2001 Mitsubishi Galant 4-cylinder 4G64. I had oil getting around the spark plug tube seal on cylinder number 4, and I saw about a teaspoon of oil down in there, and I've been having a misfire, which is why I was looking at it, checking them out. The spark plug tube seal didn't have any sealant, any RTV or anything like that between the valve cover and the tube seal. So they just kind of held each other. You know, they were just kind of held together by torque, which is, the valve cover is 78 inch-pounds, which works out to be like 6 or 7 foot-pounds. So I just snugged it up. But I did the Felpro gasket at like 130,000 miles. So that means I did the valve cover gasket and the spark plug tube seals as well. And at the time, I thought, you know, it might be a good idea to put RTV in between them because, you know, hey, they might leak again. And that's why I originally did it. All of them were leaking. So, now it's almost at 200,000 miles now, and I've been getting along with it just fine so far. I got the upgraded Outlander, 2.4 Outlander intake manifold on there because the original one cracked, which happens on every single Galant at some point. And then I started to get this misfire at idle, or when I'm accelerating from a stop, or when I'm idling with the air conditioning on. So idling at load was misfiring. Idling in neutral was not misfiring. Taking off from a stop at an accelerated pace was misfiring. And then it got to the point where it would just misfire regardless if you stepped on the gas hard or soft. But it only happened when you were idling or taking off from a stop. So I had this objective to find out what happened, and 1, 2, and 3 were all right. 3 had a little bit of oil in the bottom of it, not much. 4 had about a teaspoon sitting in between the spark plug and the spark plug tube. And then I took the valve cover off, and I noticed that you know, they weren't seating as good as they could. So I took some quality RTV sealant, and I put a bead on the bottom of the valve cover and a bead on the spark plug tube seals. And I let them get kind of tacky first. I gave them about 5 minutes, and then I just put the tube seals on the tubes, and then I put the valve cover back on top. And when I did that, it's sandwiched in here like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The peanut butter came out right here, and I just took my finger, this one right here, and I just smoothed it out against the wall in here, because if you had a big bead in there, it would be really hard to use a spark plug bit socket to get in and out of there. It's actually a little tight right now, but it's not bad. This one's the tightest. It gets in and out of here. So that's why you want to smooth it out in there, so you can put them back in and you don't actually rub off your new gasket you made or disrupt it or pull it out of place. So number 4 was the bad one, and right now it's all aces. Things are going good here. Got it all back together. It feels like the RTV is sealed up, at least on the part I can touch. It's probably not as dry as it should be on the inside, the part you can't see or feel. So I'm going to let it keep sitting. But I figured I'd make this video because I saw a lot of people had to misfire with this car, and then they were checking their IAC, TPS, barometric pressure sensor, MAF sensor, oxygen sensors. Here's the mass, pressure sensor, throttle position sensor. IAC is just down there. Idle screws. Idle screw is right here, the BIS. You don't want to play with that. It's supposed to idle at 750 with the wheels turned clockwise. And in neutral, it's supposed to idle at 750 RPM. So if you have problems with that, with idling at that, then you know something's wrong. There's no vacuum leaks, new intake gasket and everything. So I was kind of pissed off. You know, why would I have a problem? Brand new battery, new filter, fresh oil, fresh timing belt, accessory belt, and serpentine belt, fresh tranny fluid. Like, you know, everything's fine. So I'm pretty sure that you know, the things you want to look at right away is there oil leaking from your valve cover seals? Your spark plug tube seals on your valve cover. Another thing to culprit would be your fuel regulator. This little mushroom thing looking right here. Those are notorious for having a hesitation from a stop, taking off from a stop, or unregulated fuel causing a misfire, or rich or lean or whatever. There's a diaphragm in there, and if it doesn't hold when you put your finger over it, or you can suck on it or push on it and put your finger over it, and if it doesn't hold, it's not good. So it should always hold pressure. So that's what solved my problem here. The answer to the equation was to use RTV to make a better seal, and I really recommend that for anybody who has that problem, because it just isn't enough torque between the valve cover and the head to reliably hold back that pressurized oil in the valve cover area. It gets in and around that tube seal, and it gets down inside. Even just a little bit, you know what I mean? It's pretty shiny down there, but you can tell, like, it kind of gets in there. It does, it gets in there. So, you just want to create a better seal. Check these out. See, it looks pretty clean. This one's the problem one. Except it's harder to get into this one to see it. So, I'm going to put everything back together, and I'm going to let it dry for overnight before I start it, so I don't mess up the RTV, because you have a camshaft in there and you wouldn't let any little pieces to break off inside of there and get into your lash adjusters, your oiling system, or your pump, or anything. It might get stuck in your lash adjusters, and then you'd have the notorious lash adjuster click, 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 or tap, 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 tap. So try to change your oil often with this car too. I just hope this helps somebody, because it's really the simplest fix to this problem. I'm lucky it wasn't a sensor or something else, because then you're talking about money. This here was just a little RTV, which I already had, and about an hour and a half, maybe an hour of time. I spent more time trying to diagnose it than I did fixing it. So, alright.